everybody. Happy Tuesday. I came out onto the porch here at Good Nature Rural Headquarters in the hopes that we will have an hour's worth of daylight left. I'm slightly less hopeful now as I see how this is working, but maybe I can angle my face towards the sun a little bit better. We'll make it work. Forgive the crunching. I went in to get some water because doggone it is hot out here. And I had to go by the office candy jar. When was the last time you saw Chuckles? Chuckles the candy. I didn't know they still made them. Remember they used to come in a package and there were different colors. I think there was a red one and a yellow one and a green. They might have even had a black one, a licorice one. So I might try to wait till 9 o'clock to eat this. I might dive in as we go along. We'll see. But I did have some really cool show and tell things to show you. Just when you thought that we were done with cicadas, I kid you not, yesterday I was walking here to the office. I was crossing the street over here, 3rd Street. So behind me here is Baker Community Center, chair, flowers. Lazarus House is across the street. I'm actually facing towards the west and towards 3rd Street. So crossing the street, I look down and what do I find? A male Cassin cicada. I was going to say he's got one red eye and I was going to say one black eye, but he's actually missing his other eye. I'm not ready to say that this is a St. Charles cicada, although I did a few weeks ago. I'm sitting also very near our magnificent fir oak tree, and I did hear a cicada singing from up in the tree. Gosh, it was probably 3 weeks ago now. It was a while ago. So I don't know, one, if this guy could have lasted this long. And 2, I don't know if this is actually a St. Charles cicada because it was in a parking place. And I learned last week that cicadas like to take rides. The column that's going to be running, the Good Nature column that's going to be running on King County Connects and also in the King County Chronicle this week talks about a little stowaway cicada that I found in my garage. So is this a local? Is this a traveling cicada? I don't know. Doesn't matter really because it was not living anymore when oops. It's also kind of crispy when I found him. But I tell you, I was in Wheaton again this weekend, and they might be a little quieter. At least my ears were ringing a little less when I went inside this past, let's say, was I there Sunday? So, but there's still at least hundreds of thousands, if not still millions. And I bet they're loving this heat because what do we always say? Muggy weather is buggy weather. So that was one thing. I don't know how much of the around town noise. Oh, my microphone flipped. I don't know how much of the traffic noise you're hearing. There's quite a bit of it here in the bustling town of St. Charles. The other thing I wanted to show you, it almost looks like it would be cicada related, doesn't it? It's a branch, the leaves are dying. It's not. There's actually, if you can't see it, I can, but the leaves are in the way for you. One of our KCCNers was trimming back some branches and he found this little treasure which is actually a relic from last summer. Can you see that? That is a hummingbird's nest. They built it right on the edge. So this branch had been trimmed before, and the way they situated it, they, as in the hummingbirds, they stuck it on the end of the trimmed off branch. It's made of lichens. That's what the coating is there, and it's stuck together with spider webs. Spider webs are nature's super glue. They're stretchy, they're sticky. There was just enough space in this nest to put 2 eggs. Hummingbird eggs are, if we're gonna continue with our candy theme tonight, they're maybe the size of like a jelly bean, a jelly belly jelly bean. And they fit in the cup that is right there. It looks like a pipe, doesn't it? And a tobacco pipe. And they, the mom reared her 2 little offspring in that cup, and then away they went. It's, to touch this thing, it is solid. It doesn't feel the least bit fragile. Some birds' nests, you barely touch them and they start to fall apart. This thing is solid. Did a good job for the family that once lived there. I'm going to keep this as part of our traveling nature display, the things that I take to our the outreach programs that we do. But if you're ever here in the neighborhood, downtown St. Charles, and you want to see it, because it's really cool. It's something we don't often get to see. All right. I'm gonna put these things down. And oh man. Got a lot of nature on the keyboard tonight. Dried leaves. I don't know. This microphone is pretty set up to just pick up my voice, but I don't know if you're able to hear the robin that is singing continuously. Singing now. There's also, I caught a glimpse of it. There is a nighthawk that is foraging, as they seem to do every year, over here on 3rd Street. It's going back and forth. They are, now I hear it behind me. So it must be foraging on Walnut too. Again, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but they make the nighthawks make a sound. Reminds me a lot of the sound that a woodcock makes. There's at least 2 of them here. We mentioned nighthawks last week when I said there was that baby one that was brought to Anderson Humane, and they were going to transfer it over to Willowbrook. I haven't gotten an update on how that little one is doing, but when I do, I'll be sure and share it with you. They do, I don't know where that one came from, but I know the nighthawks that we see in here in downtown St. Charles, they like to nest on ledges, and around here, the ledges are the rooftops of the flat roofs of some of the buildings that are around here. So I would imagine they are catching insects not only for themselves, but for whatever babies. I think they usually have 2 young as well. And they're probably raising them very nearby, just out of sight, because they're up on the rooftops. And then when I first came out here, I heard the chimney swifts, and I don't hear them now. It's still light enough out. I think they should still be feeding, but maybe they found better bugs on a different street. Anyway, I remember when I moved into the office here on Walnut in the building is officially called the Baker Annex. It's the house that's next door to the Baker Communities. And I remember people going, oh, man, you're not going to like being downtown. There's not any nature downtown. I tell you, there was a ton of nature here. It might be a little different from what we see at Hickory Knolls, but yeah, between the squirrels and the chipmunks, the raccoons, the opossums, the skunks, all the nesting birds that are around here, plenty to keep this nature nerd busy. Okay, including a cool spider. Darn. No, I just messed up her web.
Like the custodian,
Focus.
or like you're like accidentally leaving.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with the week in review. The slides that we took this past week. I'm gonna share. We're gonna share. We're gonna choose this screen. And I'm actually gonna go over here. And Jerry, we're gonna start off with pictures that you sent. Doesn't this look like some really sad corn on the cob? When I first saw this picture, it reminded me actually of a poster that they used to have at Garfield Farm, the historic farm that's west of town. And it showed the history of corn and how the what we recognize as ears of corn today that we either eat ourselves or the seed corn that is used to make more corn. Those cobs are so the kernels on those ears are so much more densely packed than they ever used to be. The original corn from Central America and Mexico is much more widely spaced, much lower yields per ear than what we see today. But forget all that anyway. I don't want to go too far down the corn tangent because this is not corn. This is actually a really cool plant called cancer root, which is a parasitic plant. It doesn't have any chlorophyll. It lives off the roots of other plants, usually trees. It prompted me to get Dick Young books out because I remember I've only seen this plant one other time, and it was over at Norris Woods. Didn't know what it was because it's strange looking. Especially this time of year, as our woods are greening up and the woodland floors are covered with Virginia creeper and is that poison ivy back there? But there's lots of green. So a plant like this, which is not very colorful, actually can really catch your eye. And this is a healthy growth of it.
There was even more, Pam.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
How did you spot it? Was it near a trail? And tell us.
Yeah, it was really close to a trail, and actually Kate spotted it first. And there is a whole big patch of it, and that is poison ivy. We took our pictures and then we're like, oh,
Whoops.
whoops, indeed.
You can have a lasting memory of your
Yeah, fortunately neither of us got poison ivy.
Cool. Well, so was this near the trail? And refresh
Oh
my,
yeah, it was
where you
like
said-
one step off the trail.
Okay.
And
this
it was at that point it was mostly oak trees.
Okay. And this was just this past weekend, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool. Well, it rates a 10. Native plants are assigned in some circles, they're assigned a number, which is their coefficient of conservatism. It tells how conservative the plant is, which means how shall we say fussy it is, how picky it is. Its C value, the higher the number, generally speaking, the more rare the plant is, which doesn't necessarily mean it has to do with the conditions it needs to grow. So some plants need very specific conditions, some plants are more general. So the conservative plants, such as this one, rate a 10. That's what Dick Young gave cancer root, Canophilus americana. He calls it rare. It's found in rich woods, In King County, it's found in Norris Woods. It is lacking chlorophyll and is parasitic on oak roots. It resembles a fungus with bract-like leaves and a small, tubular, maroon-stained yellowish flower in June. So these are going up the stem there. These are all individual flowers on the cancer root. And yeah, I guess I mentioned he rates it a 10. It's, you know, Dick Young's book, which is I know some people don't like it because the illustrations started out in black and white, and when they added color, it wasn't really color in the sense that you would see in real life. It's more to give you an idea of what color the flower might be. And he has this listed under maroon, even though that's not really the predominant color that you see. But it's also, it's on the same page as other plants like Dutchman's pipe and marsh cinquefoil. But I guess we just don't have that many. Oh, and skunk cabbage, which rates a 6. But those other 2 plants are listed as 10s as well. So super cool find, and way to go, I guess, Kate, for spotting it, and way to go, Jerry, for documenting it. It's a great plant to see. And at Norris Woods, it's not very easy to find. I don't even know. I mean, it was totally by accident. I was wandering around off trail there and happened to notice it, but I don't think it grows, even though there's a lot of oak trees at Norris. I don't think it grows anywhere near where you'd be likely to run into it there. You'd be off in the ticky part of the woods. So thanks for sharing that, as well as this, an oak apple gall. And I think you even identified it to species, didn't you, Jerry?
I don't think so.
It's a wasp that forms the gall. I'm drawn, and I wouldn't know the Latin anyway. It's just the oak apple gall wasp is how I learned it. And this is, as all galls are, they're a reaction to an insect laying eggs, depositing eggs, and having those eggs hatch and start to develop. This is a nice little house that was formed when the female wasp laid its egg on the leaf bud, and the wasp larvae then develop inside. If I remember right, this is a wasp that has 2 different not stages, because they're actually 2 distinct, 2 generations. That would be a better way to put it. The females of one generation are winged. And I think the winged generation comes out of these oak apple galls. The wingless generation is who laid these eggs. So the winged females, they'll go down to the base of the tree and they'll lay eggs, and those offspring will become wingless females, but they feed on the roots of the oak. Did I have that right? Yeah, the winged females come down, they lay the eggs, they produce wingless females. Those wingless females crawl back up the oak and lay their eggs on the leaf buds. So this is a really cool find, and you can find these throughout the year, but they're not always green. This one, it's early in the season, so it's green. Sometimes you'll find them in the fall or winter, and it's just, it looks like a brown golf ball, which is about the size of these things. I found one at Norris Woods. This was a year or 2 ago, and it cracked me up. This little thing just went on a little adventure. I didn't see any exit holes. So it was when the gall wasp emerges, like a mature insect, there's a perfectly round hole. And this one, I don't think had any holes in it. So it broke off of its home leaf and it just, and it had been rolling for a while by the time I caught up to it. I stopped it with my foot and then I let it go again. There was just enough breeze and just a slight incline. This was over at Delmar Woods. And then it just kept going, going. But great find, and thanks for sharing it. Heads up to everybody else, keep your eyes open for these because um, they're fairly common. The trick is to find one that's not way up high on the oak tree. All right, I think we watched this one roll around anyway. Let's go on. What else did we have this week? Oh, okay. So it's baby goose season, gosling season. I don't know if you can see here, but this is what Canada geese often do. They'll form these little daycare arrangements, and this particular goose daycare has a few pairs of adults here. Here's one here. There's another adult here. I think that's an adult there. So there's two pairs of adults, but I think this is three. Oh wait, there's an adult. It's maybe this one, and then those two. I think there are three pair of geese worth of goslings here, but only two pairs of adults babysitting, because just to the left, let me see if I put that in here. Just to the left, there's another pair having a little break. They sometimes it'll just be one pair of geese that'll watch maybe two other pairs worth of, God, you'll see this enormous, best word I can think to describe it is a daycare. And so the ratio of adults to goslings, there's just a few adults for many, many babies. And they, it's a way of, I guess, giving the parents a little bit of a rest. I think I stood there too long. I got the biggest kick out of it because these two were just relaxing. They were swimming around by themselves. They were paddling around, dipping, feeding. But I stood here long enough that the daycare geese started to get nervous. And so the whole group, the daycare geese, and then the adults who were having a break, they all kind of joined in and they headed out into the current to get away from the creepy human that was hanging around. Again, good instincts. I think human daycares would probably do the same thing. They probably wouldn't take the kids in the water, but they would want to move them along so that the adult that was standing there too long wasn't going to cause any trouble. But it is definitely goose season. Now, here in St. Charles, I was over at Potawatomi and I was kind of surprised at how few babies I saw. Maybe I wasn't there at the right time. But this is down, I don't know if I mentioned, this is down at Fabian Forest Preserve. They were everywhere. Caught a glimpse of this little flower too, and it's not a native species. I don't know actually if Mr. Young had anything to say about it or not. It's a favorite. It's been a favorite of mine for several years now, ever since I learned about it up at in Door County. We were on a guided naturalist he does have it in here. A guided naturalist hike, and they talked about the restoration of the woods. I think we were at Peninsula State Park, but I'm not positive about that. But the forget-me-not would be considered a non-native species, and the restoration efforts there target non-natives, but they more vigorously go after plants like garlic, mustard, honeysuckle, buckthorn, the same things we have around here. But they said they always let a few forget-me-nots go because and stay, I guess. They always let this area stay because it is a reminder of the peninsula's past and how the early settlers there had brought these forget-me-nots from the old country as a reminder. So that they called them cultural relics. I thought that was kind of cool. Here, it is a pretty big stand, so I don't know if King County Forest Preserves are going to be that generous with them, but there's a stand of them too over at Leroy Oaks along the creek, and probably other preserves too. Let's see, so Dick Young says that it is he gives it a 2. And he describes it as uncommon in cool springs and seeps along the Fox River. It is a light, hairy, branching, mat-forming perennial, an old world garden escape with oval alternate leaves and strikingly beautiful fairyland blossoms, mostly in May and June, but continuing into October. He loves this plant because he goes on to say the exquisite uncoiling racemes of the dainty 5-lobed sky blue flowers with their sparkling yellow eyes ensure the vested affection symbolic in its name. So how about that? Maybe with that sort of endorsement, King County will let that stand continue to grow. I don't know, but it is a pretty flower, and it does form these nice little mats. Keep your eye open for it. Let me see, like if we zoom in here, you might be able to get a sense of what it looks like. There's the eye in the center that Dick refers to, and then those cute little petals. I would estimate that the flower head itself is less than half an inch. They're pretty small, but prolific little guys. Look at them all there. So we continue our walk down the bike trail, and lo and behold, this has got to be the earliest I've seen jewelweed. Not only is this, and this is yellow jewelweed, we have both yellow and orange jewelweed here in King County. Not only is it blossoming, but it's actually producing seed pods already. This, again, this seems really early. I suppose we could look up and see what Dick Young has to say about this one too. This is the plant, its genus name is Impatiens, which makes it related distantly to the ornamental impatiens that are sold for flower boxes and bedding plants. It's got a fleshy stem like that ornamental impatiens does, but it grows a lot taller and it has fewer flowers per stem. This is Impatiens pallida, the yellow jewelweed, and Dick describes it as uncommon in moist woodland and shady floodplains. It is a soft, relaxed annual with a translucent stem and fleshy leaves growing to 30 inches. It has pale yellow tubular blossoms suspended horizontally on slender arching stalks. Aha, from July to September, so it is early. Water drops sparkle like silvery jewels on the leaves. He rates it a 6, coefficient of conservativeness 6. But yeah, this was kind of surprising. Now, this is in an area that's being restored, so it could be that the increased amount of sunlight that's shining down on this area caused the plant to grow faster. I don't know, but it's up, it's blooming, it's already forming seeds. Now, these seeds are edible. I always like to, couch these statements with they're edible, but go slowly at first in case there's some allergy you didn't know you had. But if you open them up, there's tiny little seeds, and they have a kind of a pleasant nutty flavor to them, kind of like a boiled peanut maybe, or a very, very, very small cashew, but they're tasty. This is also one of a few plants that are called touch me nots, because these seed packets here, when you touch them, which I did not, because what you don't see here is all the poison ivy that's in front of this plant, but when you touch those seed packets, they explode, they spring open, and the hydraulic pressure that was built up inside that pouch flings the seed away, which is pretty cool to see too. here's the plant from a distance. There's some twisty vines that I think are bittersweet in there. There's quite a bit of restoration still to be done here. But usually when we see jewelweed, we see a much larger stand of it than what is growing here. This is again along the bike trail in Batavia. And who should come along but a modern day Miss Gulch? Any of you who are what's the name of the movie? Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz fans, you know how she would ride with the basket with Toto in it after she took it from Dorothy after she kidnapped. Well, there was this little dog, just having the time of his life. She steered around me, and the dog. You know, some dogs, they react to people, or at least will give a little woof or a glance. But this dog was just looking out and having the wind in its ears, having a ball, riding down the Fox River Trail. Oh, the chimney swifts are back. I don't know. Again, I don't know if you can hear any of the background noise that's around here, but the swifts might be coming back. Could be soon time to head down a nearby chimney. All right, anyway, focus. So leaves of 3, let them be. This, however, is not poison ivy. Well, actually, I take that back. The bigger growth here in the front is not poison ivy, but look who's peeking over its shoulder. In the front, we have a really cool, I guess you'd call it, let's see what Dick Young, I'm gonna keep referring back now that I've got the book out. This is a small tree or large shrub called wafer ash. And it grows in leaflets of 3. It's like we see here. Let's zoom in a little bit. I don't believe it's a true ash, a fraxinus ash, which would make it related to like the green ash and the white ash. But it's another name for it is stinking ash, because you crush those leaves and they have a pretty pungent aroma to them. Dick Young describes the wafer ash as he rates it a 5 and calls it common along our Fox River trails. Exactly where this was brewing. There's actually a pretty good stand of it too over at Leroy Oaks along Pearson Creek. It is a hardy, picturesque, open shrub or small tree to 20 feet with trifoliate dark green leaves and an interesting bunches of veiny, flat, round samaras in late summer and fall. These are soon eaten by birds, leaving the lacy cascades of seed stems all winter. So if you're familiar with what the seeds of an elm tree look like, these wafer ash seeds are similar, but a lot bigger, like probably about the size of a nickel. Each wafer, how it gets its name. Wafer ash genus is Telea, P-T-E-L-E-A. Not familiar with that. I don't know if we have any other Teleas in this area or not, but it is a neat little shrub. It is the food plant for the giant swallowtail. So I always, like when I see it at Pearson Creek, there's a big enough stand there that I always wonder if maybe there might be some giant swallowtails. We don't see too many giant swallowtails in this part. We see more. You go farther south along the Fox River, like Kendall County, and points south from there. Doesn't look as though we have any other Telea. We have a Teretis pennsylvanica. Yep, no, it's the only member of its genus listed in the book. But yeah, so leaves of 3, but you'll notice the edges of these leaves, the margins are smooth. If we go a little higher and we see our friend poison ivy peeking out from behind the tree, it has the thumbs on either side. This is the main, or the middle leaflet of the 3 leaflets of poison ivy. The other 2 are on the outside. The middle leaflet will have 2 thumbs, and the leaflets on either side have only 1 thumb. Now this wafer ash, not being a true ash, it does not follow the opposite growth habit of our actual ash trees. You can see the leaves here. Leaflets are alternate, which is also the case of poison ivy. But the smooth leaves, it helps this time of year. As poison ivy matures, a lot of times those thumbs on the margins get absorbed, and it has a sort of a smooth appearance too. But it's got a different stem. It's just got a completely different look to it. The side veins here are not as prominent as what we see on the wafer ash. See, that's the veins, the difference in the veins. Another way to tell. Cool plant. Here we have it from it. This was just a small one. There were some larger ones farther back, but they were somewhat inaccessible because in addition to poison ivy, there's also there was some stinging nettles. There were some raspberry canes. This one was, as you can see, right next to the path. Guys, this is the column that's going to run next week, looking at the behavior of our buddies, the red-winged blackbirds. They are starting to ramp up. Remember, this is a species where they're called polygynous, which means one male will have several females. I used to say like they'd have anywhere from, and it's okay if they just have one. That does happen from time to time, but it's usually like 2 to maybe 5 or 6. Well, I read somewhere where they can have like mates in the double digits. That'd be one busy fellow, and it does help explain this multiple mate strategy that they have. It does explain, help explain why they get so seemingly aggressive at this time of year. I'd like to say they're not aggressive, they're defensive, they're just protecting their families, as we all would. They yeah, they're known for bonking people in the back of the head as they go about their defensive maneuvers, but they're definitely ramping up. This guy did not take his eyes off me, and I heard a few others along the path give that warning. It's a 2-note kind of a beep beep sound that they make, and sometimes then that is what you hear right before you get smacked. But as long as you keep your eyes, as long as you're vigilant and you keep your eyes open and you look directly at these guys, they will not fly towards you, because they don't want to risk you being defensive back and swatting them down. You can see though he's showing his red epaulets. He was definitely watching, and it wasn't just me. There were other people along that day as well, sitting there on the hackberry. Now this was up at Island Park in Geneva, and this duck was quack 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 quack, and it sounded a little different from the usual quack, so I got my Merlin out because I thought maybe this, I don't think it is, but I have never felt confident in identifying a black duck, and I didn't know if this could have been a black duck. I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll get black ducks can look very similar. Both the male and the female black duck look a lot like a female mallard. They're missing the I think it's called a speculum, the blue patch bordered by white on the wing of the female mallard. Anyway, I thought I could use good old Merlin to pick up that duck quack and tell me just what sort of duck I was looking at. Well, this is what I got. American robin, red-winged blackbird, cedar waxwing, European starling. And I tried this probably, I don't know, 5 times. I would hold Merlin out and it would pick up these birds. And meanwhile, this duck is whacking her head off. And there was no duck that showed up. So I don't know if it's the frequency that she quacks at isn't detectable by Merlin, or maybe it was my phone too. Maybe my phone microphone wasn't sensitive enough to pick up the quacking. But I certainly heard the robins, I heard the redwings, I saw the starlings, but the waxwings, I had no idea that they were all over. I looked up, this is a tree that this is the mill race part of Island Park. I was standing on the bridge actually, where the water, local folks can probably picture where the restaurant used to be. If you're not from around here, Mill Race Inn was a restaurant that used to be in this location, and it was named after the mill race. Used to be a mill, or it's like, actually the mill is still there. It's one of the oldest structures in Geneva, but nobody can decide what to do with it. So it's just sitting there with a bunch of tarps over it. Right. The river was diverted to run the wheel, or to power the mill. And now that the restaurant is gone, it's become quite the nature hub. You can sometimes find wood ducks hanging out back there. So these cedar waxwings, which are my spirit bird, I had no idea that they were there. I tried to zoom in, but my camera just wasn't, but this was quite a distance away. I was hoping to be able to show you guys the waxy deposits on the wings, but the distance and the angle, neither one was good enough. The reason they're called cedar waxwings is because there's this red waxy deposit that appears on the tips of some of the, I think it's the primary wing feathers. Maybe not. Anyway, the amount of red wax that shows is thought to show the bird's maturity, because first year birds don't have those deposits. And then as the longer the bird's around, the more red appears. And that's thought to play a role in mate selection, because the bird that has a lot of red is clearly able to take care of itself and survive. Now these birds, they're known for eating a lot of fruit, but I have a feeling where they're sitting here in this tree along the river, I think they were maybe in fly catching mode. They are switch hitters that way, where they will feed on fruit, but especially now as they're raising their young, they switch to eating a lot of insects too, because of the protein and the fat content. So they'll fly out, grab an insect, bring it back and munch on it. Yeah, really cool birds. Oh, and more geese. This was, let's see, I was making my way south. So this is the, from Island Park, this is the, next to the Geneva water treatment plant. There was no daycare going on here. There were distinct family groups of adults and goslings here, having a little snack there in the mowed grass. I don't know, I tried counting. I got to somewhere in the 20s, and I lost track of where I'd started, but there was a whole big heap of geese there too by the Geneva water treatment plant. Now, later on that day, I was walking back to my house, and this is a wonderful place that I really have never given a lot of time for. It seems like whenever I go through there, I'm always on my way to somewhere else. But this is the river walk that was established on North River Street, so north of State Street in Geneva. And it's been there several years now, and it has really grown into an amazing selection of prairie plants, amazing variety. We've got some pale purple cone flowers here. We've got some anemone that are done blooming. There was indigo, right? It was false indigo, I forget which. Here's right in the, sorry if I'm making you dizzy, but right in the center here, we've got a compass plant getting ready to send up its flowering stalk. There's more compass plant here to the left. There was some prairie dock. You can see leaning over the sidewalk here. There is tuberosa, the butterfly weed. Just lots and lots. I would say there's dozens of species of prairie plants here. There's sometimes is it a Shakespeare production that they do there, or they used to? I remember sometimes when I'd be walking the street, which is over to the right, would be blocked off, and there would be performers performing there in front of the plants. Here's some phlox, beautiful 5-petaled flowers that are blooming right now. Here's a common milkweed that the buds haven't opened up yet, but we've got our milkweed beetles, true to form, crawling all over on these plants. And then here's our butterfly weed with our monarch caterpillar. This little one was so cooperative. I was actually a little worried about it. I thought, is it feeling well? And then I thought, well, gosh, maybe it's, done being a caterpillar and it's getting ready to go down and find a place to shed into its chrysalis. But whoops, whoa, come back. Let's zoom in here. The head and the tail are hard to tell apart, aren't they? You want to look, so the caterpillar, as all caterpillars do, there's prolegs here that are sticky pads. But then where the actual head is, there are the 6 true legs, which the caterpillar will retain as a butterfly. Didn't seem to be feeding, so it might be already done, which this is super early. Sometimes we are just now starting to see the adults arriving, the monarch butterflies arriving. Here, this one has been here long enough. This takes, I don't know, about 12 days or so to get to this last instar stage before it forms its chrysalis. Didn't notice it until just now. Clearly it was feeding earlier. You might recall the official scientific word for insect poop is frass, and there's a goodly amount of it there. Yeah, this is one of my favorite trees in the Tri-Cities. It's dead, but it is such a mystery. I tried to track down, we may have even talked about this in years past. I think this is called West Side Cemetery. It's right next to Wheeler Park in Geneva. And this tree, look at the twists in the wood. And there's a lot of, I guess you call them theories. I've read different websites. I've looked in different books. Some people think that the tree sustained an injury, which caused the tissues, the vascular tissues, to have to pull from one side more than another, and thus cause the tree to have this spiral nature to its growth. Some say it's prevailing winds. There's lots of different reasons, but nothing definitive. I don't know. It's a pretty good size tree. I'm pretty sure it was like maybe a spruce or a fir tree when it was alive. And I don't know how long it's been dead, but it's been like this for as long as I can remember. It's such an icon there at the cemetery. I spent a lot of time looking at the headstones in the cemetery. They go back to 1838, just a long time. This is a little follow-up to last week's rant on the house sparrows. I'm still kicking around the idea of a column I'm afraid though, it might irritate. There's a lot of people who defend house sparrows, saying they are just innocent victims. They were brought here uh, probably against their will, and they're just living their best lives. They're actually doing, I think, better here in the United States than they are in Europe. There's been a lot of declines in their populations there, but this, I took another picture. I think last week we saw it from a distance, but these are the corrugated pipes that cover the tops of the fences. I'm guessing this is a safety measure for people who are playing ball at the Geneva High School baseball fields. But when you walk along, and when you walk in that park, there's lots of nice paved trails there. All you hear is house sparrows. And when you look in these corrugated pipes, there's nests poking out all over the place. Some of the pipes are yellow and some are black. I don't know that there's really a difference, a preference on the part of the sparrows, but it's things like this plus but these guys are so adept at finding cavities. They'll take over the nests of other birds. Like they're notoriously bad on bluebird houses. They will kill the parents. They'll kill the young. They'll pith the eggs. All kinds of horrid things. They're doing really, really well, kind of almost too well. And again, I haven't quite formed the thesis statement of a future column. I might not do anything at all, but there are a ton of house sparrows. Even dead ones. This one, I think, had a poorly timed, they scrap a lot with each other, and I kind of think this one got bonked. Either that or just wasn't paying attention and the car ran over it, but it was nearly perfectly flattened there in the road. Sorry for the sensitive image. Move on. This picture, I thought I was taking, let's zoom in here. I thought I was taking a nice little portrait of two bunnies enjoying each other's company in a Geneva yard. What I didn't realize was that there's a third bunny coming to the party. Rabbit populations in this area, they've gone up and down and up and down. I think we're at the top of another upward swing again. I've been seeing rabbits all over the place. Times I've tried to start young trees in my yard. Well, last year, I lost that butternut tree that I'd grown from a seed. The rabbits ate that. They seem to be, I see them every time I'm out walking. I'll see a bunny here, a bunny there. Here I thought it was unusual that I was seeing two bunnies, but in fact, we were seeing three. So at least locally, there are a lot of rabbits. This was another day at Fabian Forest Preserve. It looked from a distance like this goose had a bird riding on its back, but alas, this is a goose afflicted with a condition called angel wing, which is the most common explanation I've seen is that it's had an improper diet, and maybe it's eaten a lot of bread, and it didn't it caused the wings to actually the feathers, and it's a permanent condition too. This isn't cured with a molt because it affects the bones as well, where the they're not coming here. It affects the way the feathers grow off from the wing. So it's a permanent condition. The birds that have this don't usually fly. Fabian Forest Preserve does seem to have an inordinate number of birds with angel wing, but it's not because people feed the geese there, although I'm sure some people do. The reason is that is an approved release site for a local rescue group. So they bring their geese with angel wing to Fabian. and let them go there. So we end up with lots of geese looking like that. McFarland's, thank you if you're on tonight for this picture. I'm thinking this might be a raccoon. It's about the right size. Shape this time of year kind of goes out the window because so many animals are eating, shape for identifying scat, I should say. Because so many animals are eating berries. This is probably mulberries. The raspberries are starting to ripen too, though. And that's about the right size and about the right shape, about the right quantity for a raccoon. I'm going to wrap up with one more picture from the McFarlands. It's an egg. And at first I thought it was a tan egg. I was looking at it on my phone, and then I flipped it over here to the computer. And if we look closely at it, we see that it is covered with little speckles. And it might be my imagination, but I think some of those speckles are more concentrated here at the broad end of the egg. Maybe it's just the light, but if they are indeed more concentrated here and are finely speckled throughout, I think this is the egg of a house wren. Now you see, it's not a perfect egg. There's a hole in it. That would also indicate house wren. Well, actually, you know what? It could also be house sparrow because they'll do this to eggs as well. But if there are two pairs of house wrens nesting near each other, house wrens don't like to share territory. They want to make sure that all the resources in the area they've chosen to build a nest are going to go towards them and their offspring. So they will raid other birds' nests. It doesn't have to be another wren. They could go after the eggs of other birds, other species of birds that are nesting in the area too. But this one with those holes there, I suspect this egg was ousted on purpose. And it's a neat find either way. I think it tells two stories. It tells the species of the bird that laid it, and it also tells that there is, as always, drama and intrigue in the natural setting that it was found in. Okay, folks, we are out of slides and we're about out of light. I'm going to stop the share and we'll see if there's anything. Well, actually, the sky looks a lot brighter than it is in real life here. You can see the glow here through the leaves. There is a street light right across the street. That's what we have this week. A look at nature in mid-June, which is actually like nature in July because so many things are running ahead of schedule. I think we had a couple of chats here. I got a few chats. Let's see what we've got to say. Oh, a Chuckles buying tip from Laura. The full Chuckles package at the Little Traveler. And so they do make licorice. Okay, that's good to know. I rarely bought Chuckles because I was always a chocolate fiend, but I don't know if I would get them. Maybe I would get them at Halloween. I don't know. I definitely have a strong Chuckles memory, but it's been forever. And I think I did pretty good. I didn't tear into it yet. I'll save it till we're done now. And Meg saw a white egret on 14th Street across from Carriage Oaks. An egret. You know, Meg, that's where we were seeing the cranes. That would be a weird spot for an egret nest because they tend to nest in groups and they tend to make those nests along the Fox River, but it could be foraging there.
Oh, okay, because my friend saw it, Carol Peck saw it
Oh, okay.
today, and she took a picture
Okay.
and she sent it to me. She knows I'm, interested.
Nature
And she said it was an egret. I don't know. I'll send you the photo she sent me.
Yeah, send it along and see, because that was well, actually, you know what? I take that back. There is a pond across the street from Carriage Oaks. So yeah, an egret could very easily be foraging there. They will be where their
I've
nest
seen them
is.
there.
Um,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
There's a fair, so yeah, let's go. I was picturing across the driveway going south to the cornfield, but yeah, there's a retention pond there. And yeah,
I
I've
didn't
seen,
realize there was a retention pond there.
okay, Susie's seen egrets, I've
Okay.
seen, your friend's seen
Okay.
egrets, yeah, so let's go with egrets. Yeah. There's a fair number of crayfish in there too. That might be a destination for the crayfish that live there.
Hmm.
Cool.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Tell Carol, spot on. And I was out in Ohio last week and saw several patches of cancer root. Okay, so 'tis the season, I guess, for cancer root. Even though
Pam, I meant to add to my message that I remembered it as squaw root, which I think is just another
yeah.
common name.
that, and I should look. This is the I mentioned the newest version of Dick Young's book, which is at this point it's still probably over 20 years old, but I almost want to say it was listed as squaw root in his first edition. But yeah, same plant, different name.
It's also known as bear corn, which I think is very appropriate.
Given the way it looks like an ear of corn, I wonder what cancer. You think there's some cancer healing property?
Yeah, I was curious about that because when you called it cancer root, I didn't know it by that term because I remembered it as squaw root.
Squaw root?
And,
Yeah.
but it's the same plant and it's a parasite. And the area that I was at Holden is a beech and hemlock forest. And it's fairly common. I remember it from way back when.
Interesting. So maybe it may be one of those plants where it's found what it likes. Like here,
Yes.
maybe it's, just doesn't have quite the selection of habitat that it prefers. Very
True.
cool. Squaw root, yeah, thanks for mentioning that. And bear corn, I'm gonna remember that one. All right, Kate's nail. I wondered about the sparkly purple nail polish. Does each gall only house one wasp egg, or are there lots of them? So I think there are lots. The references, as I recall, say there's lots. When I've seen an exit hole, I've only seen one hole, which would indicate one insect, but maybe one insect makes the hole and all the rest of them tile out. But when you read up on their life cycle, because I remember being puzzled by the multiple galls, but I think there are multiple wasps inside that gall. And you can hear the nighthawks. I should, although, the traffic noise is so bad. Rather than listening to me, we should have like a little nature moment. And of course, now they flew away. All right, just a couple more chats here. Meredith has seen egrets and herons at that pond. Yeah, popular place. I was over there because I visit Carrie Jokes every month. And so sometimes I'll go walk over there. Last year, I know I collected some mulberries there for my turtle. I was surprised at the burrowing crayfish that are around the pond. There's a lot of chimneys that appear. I wanted to go over there sometime at night with a headlamp to see, get a look at those, what I'm assuming are devil crayfish. But there's probably some fish in there too. I don't know, but I'm wondering if it's the crayfish that are the draw. And looks like Meg just sent the picture. Let's see if I can open it. Oh, it's gonna make me run it through a conversion program. We don't want to do that because it's already past our bedtime. 9:06, folks. Tell you what, I will well, actually it's working on it now. If it pops up before we say goodbye, I'll share a photo of it. You know what? Photoshop is going through. Oh, it's in the tree. So it hasn't fully converted. It's just a tiny little thumb Not thumbprint. You know, that's the miniature version of the actual photo. I'll see if I can get this to display better. And we'll look at it again when we get together in, not next week. We are off next Tuesday night, but we will reconvene on Tuesday, July the 2nd. So with that, folks, thank you so much for spending some of your Tuesday evening enjoying our good nature. Yeah, have a great rest of your week. Have a great next week, and we'll see you July 2nd. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Pam.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Pam.
Take care.
Good night, Pam.